7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I think we're live. Welcome to the show, a brand new football season. Brian Haenchen, Jason Andera, and joining us this year, Chad Stadem, formerly of Washington High School, now AD at Jefferson. Welcome aboard, Chad.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's going to be fun.
Chad's really nervous about this. It's his first day. He's in Jason's shadow. I mean, we all been there. We all feel it. We understand. He's a big TV star.
Whatever. Chad Stadem is a much bigger name in high school football than anybody else because you got quite a background. In case people don't know, if they just know you from Washington, you've got quite a background coaching.
Yeah, I started – my first coaching job was I was in college as at Dell St. Mary's. I did it for 1 year. My brother Mark was part of the initial group that started football there back in, I think it was 1989. They started football at Dell St. Mary's. So my brother, and I'm from Del Rapids originally, and so that was my first job. And then I actually was in banking for 5 years, and then 2 years. 2000, I got into coaching football at Howard, South Dakota, and we were 11-man. And then eventually I went to Flanders, South Dakota, and then Washington here. So, and then now I'm on.
You picked up some state titles along the way.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have good kids. So,
yeah.
Yep.
As always, you can get involved with the show. You can jump into the Facebook comments. We'll answer your questions. We're here to talk football. Chad, for you, how different has it been this offseason?
It's been a good transition. I still love football and everything, but this opportunity presented itself, and I took advantage of it. But football's football. I enjoy the game. I enjoy everything. I probably miss the kids the most and hang around with the other coaches. But we're pretty busy right now trying to get Jefferson off its feet and get it going in the right direction.
How are you fellas feeling about this season? Obviously, we're through the summer of COVID. Now we're into the fall of COVID. We've survived the spring of COVID. Now it's the summer or the fall of it. What's your feeling? What's your emotions like as we start things up here?
I'm hoping it goes well. I think all the coaches and schools are doing everything they can to do the right thing and keep kids safe and get the games played. And I'm looking forward to the season. I know a lot of the coaches are too that I've talked to, and they think they're doing everything right, and they think they can get the season in, and I'm excited for it.
I mean, the coolest thing I heard as I've been around talking to coaches, I talked to Ryan Evans, and he said that the kids are leading the way for the whole student body, and I think that's super important. They realize how fragile this season is and how they have to do everything in their possible care to make sure that this season kicks off and finishes. And they're taking it seriously. Fans are taking it seriously. I hope everybody takes it seriously. Yes, stuff is going to happen. We know that. Stuff is going to happen. Stuff is going to come up. But let's do our best to just, keep playing football.
We should probably mention it. The first bump in the road has happened with Estline Hendricks having to postpone their first couple games. But on the flip side of that, it sounds like the kids are okay, which is good. And they have to cancel the Del Rapids St. Mary game, but they rescheduled their game against Alcester Hudson, just pushed it back a week. Obviously, it's a little easier for those smaller classes where you have a bye week built in. Bigger classes is probably going to be a little more complicated, though. Yeah,
I'm not sure what they'll do, but there will be hiccups. I mean, don't freak out when we have a couple hiccups, because there will be some hiccups.
Let's talk about football, though. I'm kind of sick of talking about COVID. It's consumed my life recently. I'm sure you guys are as well. Let's talk about football. Let's start with the 9-man ranks. Jandy, let's start specifically with 9B. Coleman Egan graduates a lot of teams. Sounds like Woolsey Wessington's going to be pretty loaded coming into this year. Who's your favorite there?
I like Woolsey Wessington, but honestly, after visiting Coleman Egan, I'm kind of rethinking because they looked really good, and they've got a lot of guys back, a lot of seniors. I really love what Chad Williamson has done with that program and just getting some culture going there. He's been there 8 years now. I think Coleman Egan's got a real stranglehold there. But Woolsey Wessington always has great athletes, and I think it's going to be really tough to replace a guy like Skylar Zomer like they had. But this game's about tackling and blocking, and they do that very well. And then you add some really good athletes to that, and that's a formula for success, especially in 9-man football. And of course, I got to represent Harriet Selby. Harriet Selby is going to be good. They lose their 2 most impactful players. I didn't vote them in the top 5, but I still love you guys, and I still think they're going to make a run in the playoffs. Just maybe not quite top 5.
Jandy likes to,
I like to get free swag.
Get out there and get some shirts,
Well,
so
that
he can be bought.
That happens. Coleman will be interesting. Derek Mertz moved from offensive coordinator there to Arlington, back to his hometown. It'll be interesting what Coleman comes out and does this year offensively. I know, but Chad's always done a good job there, and obviously they're well ingrained in the 9-man ranks as being a solid team the last 5-6 years. So I'm excited to see what happens there with Coleman as well.
And you got these guys too.
Yeah, Del Rapids St. Mary. We should talk about them.
You should talk too.
They
You've been
got
talking to all these people.
They got some young players, or they got some dudes coming back from last year. They were a good team last year. They just caught kind of a firestorm there with Coleman Egan a couple times, but Del St. Mary looks like one of those teams that should be right there in the thick of things too.
Yeah, I think 9B is going to be a lot closer than it was last year. I think last year Coleman Egan really felt like the favorite throughout the season. I think this year you got, probably 4 or 5. I think like Langford too. Langford returns their whole team from a team that just got beat by Harry and Selby in the quarters, and I think when you return everybody and you got a Colin Fry at quarterback, I think they could be in the mix too.
Just a couple linemen gone from Langford area. They're one of those teams that you may not think of right away, but they're going to be real good again this year. Jumping up to Class 9A, we were talking about a little bit before the show. The game that I'll be at this weekend is Howard and Castlewood, but Howard, man, they're looking like they could give Canastota Freeman a real run for its money there at 9A.
What do you think about Howard, Chad?
Yeah, I talked to Troy Lauenberg yesterday. He's pretty excited. I think 9A is going to be pretty tough. I think there's a lot of good teams in there that are stacked. Castlewood, Howard right away would be a good testament to see, where both those teams rank up in that division. But Howard's always tough. Back in the days when I was coaching there, 20 years ago, till now, there's always good kids. They're tough kids. They compete. And so they're always going to put a good product on the field, and Pat Romo does an excellent job up there.
It's just a fun football town, too. I remember going out there for the season opener a couple of years ago, just like the pomp, the circumstance. It's like quintessential small town football, and I love it. It's such a fun community to be around.
Yeah, Howard's a great town.
Yeah, and Riley Genslinger is back as far as, they always have like 3 running backs, and they kind of share the ball with all of them, and it seems like they always have some great game breakers, some all-state type running backs. I think Riley Genslinger is the guy who really steps up for Howard this year.
The defending champions, Canastota Freeman, they graduate Trey Ortman, they graduate Bailey Sage, but they return Tice Ortman, they return some other dudes back, and they are looking really good again coming into this year.
Yeah, I really like this team, and I think they want to make a name for themselves. It looks like Tice Ortman's going to move to quarterback this year to take over for his brother, but he to me is the biggest impact player in all of 9A. He has been working very hard, and he kind of was hidden last year because of Trey. Trey did a lot of the work. They kind of shared it, but this year it's going to be all Tice Ortman, and Clayton Smith's another all-state guy they got returning up front. Canastota Freeman. That's the easiest pick for me of all the classes that's going to come back and repeat.
Yeah, when you say 9-man football, you think Canastota right away.
Yeah.
They just constantly repeat, every year. They're always right there on top. And so it'll be fun to see what they bring to the product this year, but they always have, it seems to me like they always have another boy that will step right up and take over.
Yeah, they've got good numbers this year. I was just watching practice, and they were able to field, a 9-man team, you go look sometimes at practice, and they're not able to field like dudes on both sides of the ball for practice. They had dudes out there for both sides of the ball. They've got good numbers this year.
Let's talk about Sully Buttes and what they have coming back. They lost Nick Whitler, their quarterback. They lose some other pieces there. What do you make of Sully Buttes coming into the year?
I think they're going to struggle to be a top 5 team, personally. It's just it's so hard when you have a senior class like they did with Jet Lamb and all those guys that they had making plays on the outside. They just are such a big senior class, and 9-man schools so hard to sustain when you lose a stud class like that.
Yeah, and that happens at all levels too. But yeah, and especially in 9-man, especially if you lose a lot of numbers and then you got to recycle again. It happens every school at every level.
Yeah.
But Sully Buttes always has also a great tradition of a lot of great athletes, not just in football but in basketball as well.
DeSmet, they could be a good team this year. They return a lot of their key guys from last year. They're just they're one of those teams that's going to sneak up on some.
I mean, for us uneducated analysts, sometimes you just look at the roster and you're like, okay, this team was 5-3 last year. They return a ton of players, and there's no 12s in the grade level. They're all 11s and 10s and 9s. So just as first glance, you look at DeSmet and you're like, these guys, they are loaded, and I think they're going to be one of the deeper teams in 9A. So I think they're going to take a step up.
Yeah, DeSmet, again, another town with a proud tradition of athletes. But when you have young guys like that and you can compete with freshmen, sophomores, and then they get the growth to go up to their junior, senior year. A lot of times you see leap and bounds with those types of teams.
And every year we get 9-man schools that just kind of come out of nowhere, and we're like, where'd they come from? Well, that could be DeSmet this year.
And we've seen their athletes on the basketball. I mean, they got
Oh,
some
yeah.
athletic, some fast kids there. Jumping up to 9AA, and I've been really excited. Let's talk about Viborg Hurley and what they have coming back. Obviously, Chase Mason is going to grab a lot of headlines this year. Chad, have you gotten to watch Chase play?
Yeah, I've watched him in football from last year, and actually a baseball game here too. Yeah, he's a specimen. So in 9-man football, it kind of reminds you of like when Chad Greenway played. He just stuck out in front of everyone. And Chase is kind of that way too when you watch Viborg play, and he's a heck of an athlete. He's got all the tools in baseball, obviously, and obviously he carries over to the football field too.
I try to get him to be arrogant, and he literally does not have an arrogant bone in his body either. He's like that good of a kid. He's that good of a kid, and he's that good of a player, and he pushes the rest of his team, and that's the mark. It's a great comment about Chad Greenway, where he just kind of groups everybody together, gets everybody doing the same thing. That's what Chase is, and he's the best player in 9-man football for sure, and maybe the best player in the state.
Viborg Hurley also returns basically everyone from last year too, so they're arguably one of the best teams in the state overall.
They've got another, the fastest player in the state we don't talk about, Angel Johnson.
Uh-huh.
He's got a D1 offer as well. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. They are, I talked to Rob Kessler, and he said, if we lose a guy like Angel Johnson or Chase Mason, usually that's going to crumble your 9-man team. He goes, we're deep enough this year. Like we could, we don't want to be talking about injuries, but we could withstand, losing one of our big guys because we feel like we can be better.
Maybe the biggest challenge to Viborg Hurley might be Lemon McIntosh. They have their quarterback coming back after he put up just ridiculous numbers last year. They gave him a run for their money in the semifinals. Now, obviously, depending who you ask, that's Viborg playing a bad game, that sort of thing. But they're a good team. Looks like
Fact of the matter is they came 7 hours across the state and played Viborg Hurley as well as anyone in the state with Cody Thompson. That's another kid, too. I've had a chance just to briefly talk to, and he just is so impressive about how he gets the rest of the team on board. They've got him. They've got Tel Molman. They got a lot of guys back from last year, and they expect to take another step up. And the only place they can take a step up is knocking on the door of a championship.
Bonham looks like they're going to be good. They lost Noah Heesh to an injury at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and he's super fast, and he was looking really good. He put in a great offseason, and just crushing to see when a guy loses their senior year after injury. That's tough. But I can't count Byron Pudwill out, right, Byron? I can't count you out.
It's a heel turn by Jandy.
Yeah. He holds me to the fire every time I count him out. So.
Jason really does
Let's
not
give
like
you
the
some.
count of
Let's
Tyndall.
give you some fire. I think you guys got no chance this year about him. No chance without Noah.
They kept, what was it, the year they won state? They had the Jandy's predictions of Bonham finishing under 500 stapled in the weight room wall as motivation through the year.
Well, they had a really good baseball season too, so they've got the athletes there. And Byron will do a great job. And he'll get them playing, and they'll be competitive there. So don't count them out. That's for sure.
And they got a good test right off the bat in week 1 with Wolsey Wessington. That's next Friday, 'cause this is week 0. Which is
okay.
whatever,
I was like, I missed that one.
But I didn't miss. No, yeah, but they welcome Wolsey Wessington, so we'll get a good look to see how they're looking right off the bat. A good litmus test.
That'll be good.
Potential sleeper in that class, maybe it's Dual. A lot of coaches are high on Dual. Dual brings back some dudes. They were quietly strong last year too.
Do you know Dustin Horrigan at all?
I do not.
Okay, he's their coach. He's taken over, and sometimes you can feel like some structure building with the program when they get a new coach in there. I felt that with you guys. I mean, you had great coaching before, but you felt that just, I don't know, you just get a feeling. And I get that feeling that Dual is one of those programs that's just building year on year out. And when you got, all-state running back in 9-man football like Carter Hoffman, I mean, yeah, you can make some stuff happen. But I like what they're doing defensively, where they used to not be able to stop teams. They're being able to stop them now. I really like Dual.
Let's jump into the 11-man ranks. Let's start with 11B. This could be the year the winner gets back on top. I mean, I really like that group that Dan Aker has out there.
Yeah, it's another year, another winner, Bridgewater, Emory, Ethan battle. I mean, this has been 11B for the last couple of years now, and when Dan liked his team last year and they made it to the title game, they got close. I think he likes his team this year again. They've got a really talented athlete in Brady Fritz, and of course he's not going to throw the ball, but he'll be the quarterback that he can change games without throwing the ball.
Yeah, and Bridgewater brings back, I think, their whole offensive line.
Yeah.
You know, and Jeff does. Yeah, and Jeff does it. You know, he does the same thing. And both him and Dan are very similar. You know, they've got a structure. They're going to repeat it, and they're going to fit the pieces in to make it work. And that's why they're always on the top. And they're established. You know, they're very well established. But there's two teams that I in 11B that I really think people need to kind of pay attention to. Sioux Valley. Dan Hughes has just been, you know, hanging his hat on this young group. And last year they were young, and 2 years ago they were, you know, really quality football team that got beat by Bridgewater there in the quarterfinals. And so now they're kind of back up. The young team's coming up back here. So he's had a really good offseason. I know Dan's really excited about that. And then Elk Point also, you know, Coach Terry is really excited about them, and you know, they bring back some, you know, some quality athletes as well. So those four teams there could be, you know, we have the two well-established teams in Winter and in Bridgewater, and then you've got the other two teams coming up, you know, where the coaches have been there for a few years now, and they've got the program going in the right direction. So it could be a very competitive with those four.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, Elk Point Jefferson has a couple All-State players returning as well, and like you said, Sioux Valley, I looked it up. Their leading passer, their leading rusher, their leading receiver, and their top, I think, 5 leading tacklers are all back this year. So that's the young group you're talking about.
Yeah, and Sioux Valley has Coach Fast is the defensive coach up there, and he does a wonderful job defensively, and he's got them playing really well on the defensive side. So they can hang with some of these big pounders, like I said, with like Winter and Bridgewater now, because I think they're well established.
That'd be fun to watch. And then, yeah, too, I mean, just to finish off on Sioux Valley, they graduated only 2 seniors from a team last year that averaged 35 points a game, so they can put up points. And they'll be, like you said, they'll be a fun team to watch. And then Elk Point Jefferson, definitely, they're kind of the coaches. They're kind of the sexy underdog pick for this year going into the year. And then McCook Central Montrose returns the Krause kid, their running back.
That guy's a beast. Jacoby Krause is a handful. He's fun to watch. He's, you know, if you like just watching football where a big running back will carry it 40, he will carry it 40 times in a game and just beat defenses up. That's what you want to watch.
11A, we'll move up to 11A now. A wide open class. I mean, if you had to pick a favorite, who would you go with?
I mean, it depends what day you ask me. I get influenced by the weirdest things, but I was super impressed with Del Rapids. Last year, they lost in the quarterfinal game, the round, even though they had an undefeated season. And coming off the year before, coming to the Dome, I feel like this is a team that's building, ready for a championship level. And Kobe Mason, some FCS program is going to be very lucky to get him at linebacker. He is a game changer, and he'll play both ways for Del Rapids. And the playmakers are there. They've even got a backup quarterback in Austin Henry, who's going to be in the mix, and he's going to Wichita State to play Division I baseball in a couple of years, and he's kind of just waiting for his role to emerge. I think Del Rapids probably has the most talent, but don't count out Canton. I mean, they lose Burley, but like almost everybody back on defense and on the up front. So I don't know. That's just a couple. You could name 10 more.
Yeah, and you've got St. Thomas More as well. On the other side of the state, they're really excited about what they're bringing back. Dell's obviously defensively very strong last year. They gave up like 8 points a game. Yeah. And so I know Jordan's really excited about what they have there. And then the team that beat him, West Central, another one coming up. Mm-hmm. Vince Benedetto in his second year now, coming in there, and now he's starting to get. I know he's really excited about his off season as well. So West Central, obviously, they're going to have big guys this year.
Yeah, don't be fooled. They have like 4 returning starters, but West Central they're going to be good.
Yeah, and like I always like to say. Athletes will win early in the year, but then the good coaching takes over later in the year. Where guys can, and obviously Vince beating Dells late in the year showed that, okay, they got everything moving in the right direction. And then you obviously got what Coach Clayberg's got going down the T. Again, another established program that year in and year out that's always there. And Craig does a wonderful job down there. And so they're going to be right in the hunt as well. So here we are, 5 teams we've mentioned, and they could all compete. And again, it's going to come down to the end of the year.
And then you got Madison, who was on a roll, and now they'll bring up a new quarterback in Ricky, right? Nathan Ricky. And I think he's in that same mold that they've had these great quarterbacks. They get 2 years of these great quarterbacks. I think he could come out and may put on a show. Who'd you vote for number 1 in 11A?
I think it might have been Del Rapids. I'm trying to remember now.
Okay.
I just sort of pulled the name out of a hat.
yeah.
You really can't go wrong. Sioux Falls Christian too. We don't talk
Sioux
about
Falls
that.
Christian.
Mitchell,
Tri-Valley's better too.
Yeah, they're taking a step forward. Mitchell Walker for Sioux Falls Christian. I saw him at media day. He missed last year with an injury. That kid's big.
Okay.
He's built like a house, so he should be good there. They got some other really strong dudes there, so they're going to take a step forward. Hopefully, they're under Jared Smith. It'll be fun to watch. Chad, I'm interested to hear a coach's perspective, and I apologize for sort of putting you on the spot here, but what's the difference for St. Thomas More and them being able to establish that culture there and get the football program going versus some of the public schools and some of the other schools in that side of the state?
I'm not as well. I mean, I'm obviously with the West River as much, but being out there isolated like that, they travel around, they play in their league. Their kind of anomaly is like on the east side, we're all playing each other, we all know each other, so you just don't know what's going to happen when you come from St. Thomas More. Yes, they do. They'll play a winner every once in a while and things like that. But when they come over, they could be an outstanding football team or not. Who knows? Because there's just no comparables a lot of times in that aspect. But Wayne does a great job. Wayne Sullivan, he's been there for 30 years almost now.
Ever since I've started.
Yeah, and Wayne does a great job, and he always has those guys playing. He always seems to find an athlete that can help them win, and then he adapts around them. And so, I mean, I would not count out St. Thomas More by any means.
I think they're 11B.
11B, yeah.
I think
Apologize
they're 11B
for
this
dropping
year.
back down, yeah.
Just FYI, and Ryan Wojcik is back. He had a couple 200-yard games last year, but they had a little competition going at quarterback. The last I heard, and I haven't heard who their starter is, but that's a big shoes to fill because Ryder Kirsch he's been really good the last 3 years for that.
He has. Let's jump up to 11 AA. This should be an interesting year in that class. Pierre graduates a lot of kids, but they bring a lot of talent back. They look like the favorite there.
Yeah, when I talked to Steve Steele, he said this reminds him a little bit more of like 2018, where maybe a few more question marks coming back. You're going to have to put probably a sophomore quarterback. Lincoln Keenholz, he didn't say for sure, but that's my guess is who's going to be a quarterback. And so there's some question marks there. But McGuire Rasky and Reagan Bolwig and Gunnar Gehring and man, the same dudes are back. And they've built culture there over the last couple of years, and they're starting to get the numbers. I mean, I don't know. What's your perspective on what Pierre's doing in AA?
Yeah, in AA, I just don't think it's as deep as probably the other classes. And I think Pierre is in a nice situation where they've had a ton of success. The kids are all bought in, and they could have maybe a little bit of setback, but they'll be right there. You know what I mean? Give them time. Coach Steele will get them ready by the end of the year, and they'll be playing hard. And so in this division, I also kind of take a look at Mitchell a little bit. They have taken a jump. Coach Kramer is coaching the offense in his zone scheme there. When they won it years ago, Coach was coaching the offense then at that time too. And he's bringing that hard-nosed mentality on the offensive side back to Mitchell. So Mitchell's a team that could be interesting in the AA as well.
Yeah.
How would you slot in the other three spots then? If you're going to say, let's just say for now, Pierre, Mitchell, kind of the top two. Where would you slot everyone else?
I like Huron, and again, every first year of a new coaching staff, it's really hard to gauge what Scott Spanton did last year. So we'll see if he takes another step up in his second year. He's got his quarterback back, and he's got Tyson Lean back running the ball. Cade McNeil's the quarterback. Again, the numbers probably not where he wants them, but they've got some talent. Yankton, with 7 starters back, this better be the year that they kind of get back to at least the middle of the pack, if not higher. And I think it will be. I think they've got some young guys who are ready to take a step up too. But it's going to be so hard to compete with Pierre. But I think you probably got Yankton, Huron right in that same boat, and I think Brookings maybe a half step back after that, and then Sturgis and Douglas. They're really trying to reload. Douglas actually, they have some big dudes up front, but they're going to have to find some consistency in putting points on the board.
And Brookings, getting back to Brookings a little bit,
Yeah.
Coach Clark's first year,
Yeah.
and a lot of new staff members there too. So it'll be interesting to see what he comes from the 9-man ranks up to the 11 AA, what he can bring. He might add a little bit of different, wrinkle to it and kind of change some schemes a little bit compared to what they've used to seeing from Brookings.
They had a really good team last year, though, but a lot of guys not back and no Millers up front, so that makes it tougher.
You made the transition from 9 to 11 man, right?
11-man. I was 11B.
Oh, you're 11B.
Yeah, because Howard was
Okay.
11 then.
Okay.
Yeah, still 11-man.
Let's jump over to 11 AAA then, and let's start with Harrisburg. I think we should just go through the teams in the metro area. But let's start with Harrisburg. The success that they had last year, I was kind of surprised, Chad. I don't know what you made of it, but the way that they were able to jump in and kind of compete right away, Turn some heads.
Yeah, I mean, and I saw Harrisburg was very equivalent to us at Washington, both young, and they were able to squeeze out a few more wins and got momentum. They challenged OG in the first round pretty well, and that's a good game, and it's tough to play back-to-back because they ended the season with OG and then played them in the playoffs right away, and they competed right away, and they have a lot of good young talent, and so they're a team that I think in the coaches poll, them and Washington were undervalued in that first poll that we saw. And so I know Washington's going to be stacked, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But Harrisburg's a team that, obviously, I think is going to be right in the top.
It's so hard to run two quarterbacks on a team, and both Jacob Knuth and Tygan, they did their best, and they said all the right things and did all the right things, but it's just so hard. So this year, I think the move is going to Jacob Knuth 100%, and I think we're going to see his maturation process and a big step up for a guy that can really throw the ball, and hopefully the game will slow down for him a little bit. I think he could be one of the top passers in the class. And then Ethan Rollinger is another big guy, and you talked about they got loads of talent. Like, they're not going to have a problem finding talent, but the second half of the season is when they dwindled, and you have to build up to know that you can play playoff football with the other Metro teams. And one of these years they're going to do it because they've got the talent.
Is that just sort of a numbers game thing, you think, Chad? Just not enough depth maybe to sustain?
No, I think a lot of times coaches get onto each other and they know it, and they adapt and they prepare their kids for that postseason. I know I did that. I knew who I might face in the playoffs, and I started building early and started getting better at what I needed to do to win football games late in the year. I do know I'm not a big fan of two quarterback systems, and they did it well though last year. They handled it well and they did a nice job.
You can do it, yeah.
And I think Jacob, if you give him the full reign 100%, I see more growth, because once you have one guy, the offense knows one guy, it just seems a maturation process excels better instead of two quarterbacks.
Let's talk about the team that you ousted last year from the playoffs, and that being Lincoln. They return quarterback Tommy Thompson. They lose a lot on defense, but they return some dudes on the offensive side, except for their offensive line, which could be difficult. What do you make of the Patriots coming into the year? Yeah,
Tommy's is an outstanding player. He carried him at times last year and did a wonderful job. And that's going to be the scary part, is like when you replace O-line and D-lines. You can have a lot of skilled guys, but if you replace those two, if they're not very good, or if they are good, it really changes your menus on your run game and your pass game, and offensively and defensively. So, you really want to build around the O-line and D-lines. And so that's where it's going to be the question mark, where they're going to be with that. And we'll see the first couple games where they're at with that. Lincoln's always got good depth. They're well coached. And, I think those lines will come along and they'll be fine. And if they do, it's just going to make them propel them even better. And again, I know they're not in the rankings, but they're a team that, they can have a chip on their shoulder because of that, and they can come in and play people well.
Yeah, it's crazy when a team isn't ranked and they might have the best senior quarterback in the state with Tommy. But I couldn't have said it better. It's exactly right. You got to get it right up front, and we'll see how long that takes. You do have Isaiah Robinson. You got some trusted receivers that Tommy trusts. I think offensively they'll be a little further ahead than defense.
And they're one of the teams, too, that was out there this summer, just the kids on their own, playing some 7-on-7, getting some work in there. So hopefully that chemistry. And then Freddie, too, talks a lot about leadership, and that this group is kind of worried about where the seniors would be in that spot. But they've really taken it upon themselves to lead this team and take control, take advantage of their time in the spotlight. And he said that that's gone from something that he wasn't sure about to really one of the biggest strengths of this team heading into the year. Yeah. And just speaking on that in this program as a whole, it's been cool to see that progression with Freddie every year, talking to him at the beginning, either just the way that it's kind of progressed into what it is now, where they're coming together with some confidence, some swagger, and hopefully turning the corner and taking that big next step into the playoffs.
It's always more fun when anybody can beat anybody in Sioux Falls. So I think that might be the case, especially early in the season.
Let's jump over to Washington. Chad, I'll let you talk about the Warriors, because you have a better idea probably than both of us on what they have coming back.
Last year we were really young. We played a lot of sophomores. I think at one time we started 13 sophomores, and at AAA that's tough. It's tough to do that. And we hung our hat on those guys, and we were in a lot of games, and obviously we won our first playoff game, and that kind of shows the talent that is there, the depth. Our off season this year, when I was still there, was outstanding. It was as good as we've had since we went on our 3-year run. They were right back to it. And the problem is that, it was never an attitude problem or a leadership problem at Washington. It was always like we were just young. You know what I mean, last year. And I think the guys have overcome that. I know Coach Evans will do a great job He'll get those guys where they need to go. We've matured. They've gotten bigger. They're bigger on the O-line. They're bringing back a lot of experience there. 2 running backs, the skilled guys, basically the whole offense is back, and they're bigger and they're faster and they're stronger. And the defense will might be the strength. They got a lot bigger on the D-line. Kendis Ledbetter moved in from Colorado. He's going to be kind of an unknown right now. We're talking about a 6'4", 240-pound D lineman, D end, and he's going to bring some more depth to that D line, and the linebacking core might be the best in the state with Jaden Fetcherell and Randolph Kapai. And you're going to see more other people that are really talented on that defense too. So this could be Washington's year again to get right back on track. And I know when I was there, I was kind of hanging my hat on this is going to be our year again. And they're still going to be young. They're still going to be playing a lot of juniors.
One of those juniors is quarterback Max Thompson, and everything I've seen and heard and talked to other players about is how much he's been dedicated this offseason to getting stronger and just getting that year under your. I mean, playing sophomore quarterback in the Metro is tough, and you know that. And to come back as a junior, that's a huge advantage. So I can't wait to see how his connection is with Tyus and Josh and see how the passing game progresses. But they've got the running backs too.
Yeah, they have the Malcolm and Michael Johnson, the twins, and they'll be outstanding. And
I saw a left tackle that looked like a Farniak. Forgot his name, but he looked huge.
Yeah, Caden there, he's going to be a big one. He's 6'7", about 2. Well, he might be 300 pounds about right now. So he'll be the next. He's the big next one coming up here, and that's Caden Miedema, by the way. But the thing is, Josh Piper. People are kind of quiet on him. He set school records in receiving, catches, and yards as a sophomore, and he is, in my opinion, as much of a threat in AAA football as anybody. He's physical. He's 6 foot. He's about 190 pounds, and he's fast as anybody. And in space, he's scary. He kind of reminds me of Camden Bauer a lot, with, very similar creatures in that sense on the football field. And then obviously Tyus. And so Max has got some good skills around him and a great offensive line. Aiden Brink is people even know he started as a freshman for us in our 2018 team. Now he's a junior center. He's almost 6'5", 285. He's another big body guy that is going to really, he's been through it. He knows what's going on.
Let's move over to Roosevelt. Maybe the best team on paper in 11 AAA. Where would you put the Riders? I mean, they got a lot. Yeah. They got some holes to plug, but they got a lot of good players.
Well, I can start, and I'll let you finish, Chad. But they always come in with great talent, and they've got the numbers again this year. And again, it's always cool to talk about guys who are scoring the touchdowns. Tyler and Michael, and even Presley Johnson, and then Tyree is back. But the line is maybe the best offensive line in the state, and led by Sam Coles. 4 starters back up there, and the big question mark is quarterback. And honestly, I think they can't go wrong with whoever they decide to put at quarterback. And I think quarterback is the least of their problems. I think they're going to be able to move the ball. Defensively, a lot of holes to fill. I mean, I know they got leaders in large, and I know they got some guys like Brandon Dandenbring? Bennett. No, the linebacker. Brandon Dandenbring. Yeah. They've got some leaders. They got some big guys, but again, up front, defensive line, I'm watching that as a potential, not weakness, but something they really have to work on. But they're starting out pretty loaded.
On the defense side, I think they'll be fine. Coach White does a wonderful job, and they might be. They had the last 3 years here, they've had some really good D-lines. They've had some exceptional football players in that sense. But what they're really good at is they maybe have the 2 best corners in the state with Large and Hughes. And as a defense, if you can have 2 shutdown corners, now you can help with the run support with the D-line if you have to. And I think they're going to be just fine up front in what they do because they have the talent in the defensive backfield. On the offense, they're going to be loaded. And I think maybe when I saw this kid play last year, I just went, oh no, this kid he's scary, and because he's a multi-athlete and he's an athlete, and that is Taylon Ashley. I mean, he'll be a sophomore this year. I know they played him in times as a freshman at the varsity level, and I thought, wow, this kid is the next big football player coming up in South Dakota football. and he can do a lot of things. I was like, don't go empty and run him. That would scare me to death because he can run it and he can throw it too. And he's a guy in space that you don't want to try to tackle. So, I mean, they do have the guys, and obviously Tyler, he's been there for years. He's a go-to guy, and he's going to compete. And it's been fun to actually watch him mature from a freshman all the way to a senior, and I think he's taken on the load a little bit for them in terms of their leadership, and he's a nice kid, and it's just good to see him finally getting some recognition that is due, because he's a heck of a football player too.
Taylor Ashley, you mentioned the quarterback. He's in battle right now. It's Bennett Dannenbring, another sophomore, for their starting quarterback job. The other Dannenbring that we couldn't remember the name of, Brandon Dannenbring, jumped into the starting role last year at linebacker alongside the Kuslers. Now it's his turn to sort of lead that core, lead that defense. So I was impressed by what I saw from Brandon last year. It seemed like he kind of jumped right in there and was ready to go. And I'm not as concerned as I may have been with them graduating 2 players like the Kuslers last year from that linebacking core.
No, I think he'll be good. You're right. They'll probably be just fine on defense, but I think that's the only area you can pick at and say maybe they're not as experienced as up front on D. Everything else they've got. I mean, they'll be good.
Yeah, and I think they're well deserving of the number 1 ranking early in the year. Yeah, absolutely. I think they're well deserving of that.
How would you? We'll ask this question at the end. Never mind. Brandon Valley, their defense returns. They return a lot of pieces there. They lose their entire offensive line, though. They graduate Thomas Skolton from quarterback, so there's going to be some new faces there for the Lynx.
Yeah, there's going to be some new faces, I think, but their style of football, I mean, they've got depth. They've got a lot of numbers, and they've had a lot of numbers, and Coach Garrow does another good job of getting guys out, and on defense, they're going to be solid. They've got, Joe Colbeck. No one talks about him. I thought he was as good a safety as anyone last year, and when we went against, and then obviously we got Hilton there, and you've got all these other good skilled guys, and obviously Tate Johnson is going to be a good football player. They'll rebuild that O-line. They're fine. And the JV guys, they had the size there. They're going to be just fine up front. It's the quarterback. That's what I want to know. And I know the guy that coaches the quarterback, but I haven't talked to him here recently. But
come on, you're supposed to be an insider now.
Yeah, geez, Chad, that's why we brought you on here.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him here, and I've been busy doing some other things. But no, I haven't talked to him here in the last week or so. So, and there's some things I don't want to ask, but obviously they got to play that out there and see what happens there. But the way they run their offense, the way they run their defense, they're always going to be very, very strong on defense. They want to run the ball hard on offense, and they're going to try to beat you up and win games. And I think they're very capable of doing that again this year.
I just want to echo about you've got Tate Johnson, and the beautiful thing about Tate Johnson is with the great offensive line which he's had the last 2 years, he can run up the middle. He can dance outside. And if he doesn't have a great offensive line, watch out for him in the passing game. The guy can make big plays in the passing game as well. So I think that is a huge weapon to have when you have a younger offensive line. And Tate told me, he goes, don't worry about the offensive line. We're going to be just fine. So, I mean, it does take a little bit of a couple of weeks to get that line all unit put together. But by the end of the year, I don't think that'll be an issue at all. And then, quarterback, Garrow will do, he's one of the best at doing with whatever he's got, and if he's got a strength at quarterback, he'll use it, and if he's got strength somewhere else, he'll use that.
At what point of the season do you like to have your starting quarterback established set? At what point?
Beginning.
At what point of practice? I mean, I'm sorry.
I would always like to go through like the first week and a half, and then by the time we get to game week, first game week, it's set. I've never really had a quarterback issue. My first year at Washington, we kind of were jumping back and forth on trying to find a fit. But, I'm not a big believer. I'm a big believer in just hanging your hat on a guy and let him lead, and let him take it. And so I'm sure, I don't know what they're going to do there at Brandon Valley yet, but, I do know that they'll be right there and they'll be in the hunt. And again, we go back to, here we are again, guys, AAA football, it's going to be an interesting end of the year. We haven't even talked about OG yet.
Yeah, let's talk about OG and the Knights. What do you make of the Knights coming into the year?
I think the Poppies are as good as coaches there are in 11 AAA, and they're going to get their guys. And again, much like Coach Garrow, they find a way to win. They're going to use their guys to the best ability. And the one thing that the Gorman always has, they always have athletes. Always. They're always going to have that. And so what the Poppin guys are going to have to do is just going to find what works for them. And that might take a couple weeks, but they're going to be right there too, guys.
Yeah, I think the great example last year of what they did and kind of getting better as the season went on. The senior group maybe isn't quite structured the same way, but I think Connor Pavelko takes a much bigger role in the offense this year. We saw him in a limited action last year really make some big plays for them. and then Tegan Schlimgen, another senior quarterback. Not a ton of senior quarterbacks we're talking about in AAA. To have a guy like that, it's a big help. And they'll find, you're right, they'll find the athletes to plug in. But a lot of question marks as we start the season. Just who's gonna do what.
They won't have Pavelko at the start of the year. He's out with an injury, so that's going to hurt them a little bit.
News to me.
With respect to Schlimgen, what do you look to see out of him this year, Chad? What jumps out to you when you watch that kid play?
Very similar. I know they had Norton come in on a package and do some more run stuff, but I think he'll probably be able to take on more of the load. It helps having that title under your belt and having had the experience. He's been playing for the last 2 years quite a bit, gotten a lot of experience, and his leadership will, that'll show this year. I always impressed with kids when they jump from their junior to senior year and how they can kind of turn it up a little bit more. And I'm sure Tegan will do the same thing.
Absolutely. I'm interested to hear you two guys. For 11 AAA, how would you rank those 5 teams, top 5?
You want to go first?
I would probably – I feel comfortable with what they have ranked number 1 and 2, but I'd slide – I think it's bunched, to tell you the truth. I think you'd have to move Washington up. And obviously I coach those guys, and then Harrisburg as well. And I just think that, cream rises to the top by the end of the year, and it generally usually does in AAA. And I just think that those are the teams that are going to make, and it's going to be a tough one because then you got OG and Lincoln looking in too. So it's going to be a tough battle at the end of the year. It's going to be 6 teams right there, guys that are very capable of being in the Final Four.
I've got my show coming out tonight with exactly how I voted, and that's almost exactly what I did. I went Roosevelt 1, Brandon 2, 3 I had Washington, 4 I put O'Gorman, and 5 I have Harrisburg.
Real quickly, we should touch on the other teams in 11 AAA. Aberdeen Central has the Burkhardt kid back. He's a good player. Out west in Rapid City, they're both fitting in new coaches, Neil Cruz and Michael Scott out at Stevens. So they'll be rebuilding. We can talk about that a little bit more next week as we get into week 1 preparation.
Yeah, just a couple notes. Cole Meisman has been quarterback in such a different offense with Rapid City Central where they're running that, I don't know what you call it, a double wing? Single wing. Yep. Single wing. I think we're going to see a progression with him this year, but anytime you have a whole new offense, who knows? But he's a dude. He's an athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. We always felt that he was an outstanding quarterback.
Yeah.
When the times he did throw, he was pretty good. And, so it'll be interesting what type of offense they're going to run and if it fits his talents.
Yeah.
Chad, what do you got? Or Jandy, what do you have going on Friday? Chad, you going in there?
I'm just going to quick mention Watertown too, because
Sure,
I know I got a lot of Watertown followers out there.
Yeah.
Dawson Schmidt is another guy that sticks out when you watch a football game. Like I've had coaches tell me like, who's that dude? he stuck out last year and this year coming back as an all-state receiver for Watertown. So he'll make some noise. But overall, they've got some work to do to get to that upper echelon.
Jandy, what games do you have coming this week?
Well, the big news is tonight is our big high school preview night on Midco Sports Network. So we'll have the North Dakota preview for all you North Dakota fans up there. Then the South Dakota preview at 7:30, and then we've got volleyball as well at 8 o'clock. So that's what we're going to handle. And then Friday, you can convince me where to go because I have not picked where I want to go yet. And we have our show starting the first full week of football on the 28th.
Real quickly on volleyball, who are your 3 state champions as we head into things?
It's not a big shock here. The teams that won it last year are probably in the mix again. Watertown is the one team that lost a ton of seniors. So I think O'Gorman is overwhelming favorites in AA. Sioux Falls Christian overwhelming favorites in A, and Northwestern overwhelming
Death
favorites
taxes in Northwestern volleyball
in B. So we've got huge favorites in all 3 classes. But that's what makes the season fun is we'll definitely have some surprises.
Chad, you going to check out any games now that you have some free time?
I might be if things work out. I'm going to run up to Volga and I'm going to watch Cossacks.
Yeah, we should set you up there with a notepad and a camera. You can work for both of us.
No, I'm going to go up there. I'm just going to enjoy football. Just watch up there and see what the Cossacks have to bring because I think that's an interesting group to watch. And then hopefully I can come back and I can catch some AAA the next week.
Nice, that's awesome. So for us, we'll have Matt Zimmer out at Beersford watching them versus McCook Central Montrose. Stu will have a column from the Parker Arlington Lake Preston game, and Aaron, our photographer, and I are heading out for Howard versus Castlewood. So we have a full slate of games for us. I guess we'll continue doing this, Chad. We didn't scare you away or anything, did you?
No, we'll see if I can fit in each week. I've got other responsibilities going on with Jefferson. And we're going to get really busy here in October, guys. We're going to start hiring our fall activity leaders and other activity leaders like band and choir and all that. So come October, we're going to start getting into that. So we've been really prepping to start hiring our staff here and get everything hired here at Jefferson before we kick off. We're building our gym in January. We're hoping to have open gyms for kids and by April.
Wow. And you're going to break all those stories here, right? You're just going to...
Yeah, well, whatever you guys want to know, I'll let
you
you know, and we'll get excited. We'll hopefully get the media in there at some point next spring, so so you guys can check out the new school. But when people see the new school, they're going to be pretty amazed. It's a pretty amazing place. The gym's going to be outstanding, and the weight room's going to be amazing, and we'll have a turf field, and it's just great. It's just really fun to be a part of.
That's awesome. Well, Jandy, you will be back. We've got this going. It's good to be back.
For sure. I mean, I'm just so glad to be covering sports again.
Yeah.
I know you are too, and we just want this to keep going. I mean, especially the vibe at Midco Sports Network right now with the Missouri Valley Football Conference going down, and that's pretty much our main gig. Everybody wants to cover high school with me now, so we're going to have quite a team this year. Jay Elson, Alex Seiner, Tom Neiman, David Brown, Elena Lanson, all are going to help on high school coverage, so we're going to try to blow it out.
I love it. I love it. Well, we thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back with you next week, same time, same place, Jandy's Garage, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you again soon. And then I think we're clear, and then I turn this off so you can